It was the moment that rewrote the fate of a quiet HR officer from Yorkshire. A trembling man in a gray shirt stood under the harsh spotlight of Britain's Got Talent, his voice breaking through the silence with a cover so raw it left the entire arena breathless. Calum Scott's rendition of Dancing on My Own didn't just earn Simon Cowell's golden buzzer, it detonated a global reaction that launched him into stardom overnight. But behind that golden shower of confetti was a complicated path marked by family tension, personal reinvention, and the pressure of living up to viral fame. Today, nearly a decade later, Scott isn't just surviving the industry, he's taking it by storm once again. This time with a rumored Eurovision bid and a new concept album exploring memories in reverse. The question now isn't whether Calum Scott made it, it's whether the man behind one of TV's most iconic auditions can outshine the legend he became in a single performance. What happened in the years between might just shock you. Long before the world knew his name, Calum Scott was just a shy boy growing up in Beverley, a modest market town in the East Riding of Yorkshire. The son of divorced parents, he often kept to himself, channeling his energy into drumming rather than dreaming of the spotlight. Music, at that point, wasn't his passion. It was his sister Jade who carried that torch. But everything changed the day Jade secretly entered Calum into a local singing competition run by the Hull Daily Mail, forcing him to step out from behind the drums and into the unfamiliar role of lead vocalist. Much to his own surprise, he won. That win wasn't just a fluke, it lit a spark. Yet even then, Calum didn't rush into music. He returned to life as an office-based HR professional, hiding his voice from the world. But Jade wasn't about to let her brother's gift disappear into a cubicle. What began as sibling support would soon grow into a relentless push that changed both their lives forever. Before he ever set foot on the Britain's Got Talent stage, Calum Scott faced a string of musical misfires that nearly convinced him to walk away for good. Following his unexpected win in the local competition, he cautiously dipped his toes into the music world by joining a Maroon 5 tribute band cheekily named Maroon 4, touring modest venues across the UK. The gigs were fun, but far from glamorous, and hardly the launchpad to stardom. Still, Calum persisted. In 2014, he formed a dance-pop duo called The Experiment with his friend John McIntyre, releasing a single titled Girl You're Beautiful. It received minor attention and even earned them appearances on Good Morning Britain and BBC Look North, a taste of the big leagues. But just as things began to click, the duo quietly disbanded for reasons never publicly explained. The buzz faded, and for Calum, it felt like yet another sign that his dream might be too fragile to chase. But then came a second chance, one that would push him from local talent to international sensation in a matter of minutes. It was meant to be a shared dream, siblings auditioning side by side on Britain's Got Talent. But when Jade Scott's audition was abruptly cut short by the judges and ended in unanimous rejection, all eyes turned to her brother Calum, standing backstage with nothing but nerves and heartbreak in his throat. What happened next was nothing short of historic. With a trembling voice and visible vulnerability, Calum delivered a stripped-down, emotionally devastating rendition of Robin's Dancing on My Own. The theater fell into stunned silence, then exploded into applause. Simon Cowell, rarely so quick to act, slammed the golden buzzer, catapulting Calum straight into the semifinals and igniting a viral phenomenon. The performance rocketed across YouTube, amassing millions of views within days, and drew praise from celebrities including Little Mix and Ashton Kutcher. Almost overnight, Calum went from an unknown HR worker to a global breakout star. But beneath the celebration, there was a quiet storm. Family tension over Jade's public rejection and the staggering pressure to prove that his golden buzzer moment was no fluke. What followed Calum Scott's viral audition was a dizzying plunge into the spotlight, a mix of thrilling opportunity and overwhelming expectation. Though he ultimately finished 6th on Britain's Got Talent, Calum wasted no time seizing the moment. He launched into a whirlwind tour across the UK, performing at radio events, shopping center anniversaries, and local festivals, proving he could draw a crowd even without a record deal. But behind the scenes, Calum was gambling big. In a bold, independent move, he officially released his haunting cover of Dancing on My Own as a studio single in 2016 without the safety net of major label backing. Critics were skeptical. How could a song already so well known possibly gain traction again? But Calum silenced doubters when the track soared, selling over 600,000 copies and earning platinum certification in the UK. With little to no radio support, he defied industry norms, capturing listeners purely on emotional resonance. Yet while the success was undeniable, so was the cost. As the press swarmed and his face became a staple of British pop culture, Calum was quietly adjusting to a life that no longer felt entirely his own. With platinum success under his belt, Calum Scott finally stepped into the recording studio as a signed artist, landing a coveted deal with Capitol Records. But instead of chasing chart formulas, he chose vulnerability. His debut album, Only Human, wasn't just a collection of polished pop. It was a confessional, laced with emotional scars, self-reflection, and quiet resilience. Anchored by the staggering success of You Are the Reason, which would eventually surpass 1 billion YouTube views, the album traced Calum's journey of self-acceptance and emotional awakening. In interviews, he spoke candidly about the difficulty of coming out publicly, revealing how some friends distanced themselves and how fame magnified his internal battles. His songwriting dug into themes of isolation, longing, and healing, making Only Human not just a commercial win, but a deeply personal milestone. It peaked at number 4 on the UK albums chart and spent weeks lingering there, quietly cementing his place as a voice for the vulnerable. But even as applause grew louder, Calum admitted the pressure to top his own honesty became its own kind of prison, especially for an artist who never planned on being a public figure at all. As Calum Scott's fame spread beyond Britain, so did the weight of his rising expectations. From packed concert halls to international festivals, he was now performing not just for fans, but for critics eager to see whether the quiet man behind the golden buzzer could hold his own on the world stage. Supporting acts for global stars like Emily Sandé and even rubbing shoulders with Ed Sheeran's touring circuit brought him closer to the pinnacle. But it also exposed him to the harsh realities of fame. Australian tabloids, known for their brutal honesty, speculated on his emotional state after several withdrawn performances, while whispers of panic attacks and backstage breakdowns began to swirl on fan forums. Though Calum never confirmed the rumors, he didn't deny the toll of constant travel and emotional exposure. In quieter moments, he admitted in interviews that the applause sometimes felt like pressure, not praise. Touring from 2019 through the pandemic shadow forced him to confront his limits. And while audiences saw flawless vocals and humble smiles, behind the curtain was an artist grappling with burnout, identity, and the silent question: could he keep going without losing himself? After a brief pause brought on by the global shutdown, Calum Scott returned, not as the ballad-singing heartache artist everyone expected, but as a surprising new voice in the dance pop world. His collaboration with Belgian DJ Lost Frequencies on the 2021 single Where Are You Now marked a turning point. The track's hypnotic beat, paired with Calum's unmistakable vulnerability, stormed the charts across Europe, peaking at number 3 on the UK singles chart and dominating dance playlists for months. For an artist once typecast as the poster boy for emotional slow burns, it was an electrifying pivot. The single spent over 19 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Dance Mix Show airplay chart, proving that Calum wasn't just a one-note wonder, he was a shapeshifter. Critics who once dismissed him as too soft for club radio now called him a crossover king. The success of Where Are You Now didn't just revive his momentum, it gave him a new lane entirely. Calum Scott had found a way to blend heartbreak with high BPMs, and fans weren't just dancing to it, they were feeling it deeper than ever. As Calum Scott's profile surged once again, whispers began to circulate in the corners of the music world. Could he be the UK's next entry for Eurovision? It started as a subtle leak on X, formerly Twitter, where a supposed BBC insider hinted hinted that Calum was in advanced talks to represent the nation at Eurovision 2026. The rumors spread like wildfire, dividing fans and fueling online speculation. On one hand, Calum's soaring vocals, global experience, and emotionally charged stage presence made him a dream candidate. On the other, critics claimed he was too polished, too safe for Eurovision's often chaotic flair. Despite the growing chatter, Calum remained tight-lipped, neither confirming nor denying the possibility in interviews. Meanwhile, hashtags like Calum for Eurovision began trending, and even former contestants publicly backed the idea. For an artist who once hid his voice in an HR office, the idea of commanding a continent-wide stage seemed almost surreal, but perhaps also inevitable. Whether the rumors are true or just fan-fueled fantasy, one thing is clear: Calum Scott has become more than a singer. He's a symbol, and the public isn't done writing his next chapter yet. As Calum Scott's profile surged once again, whispers began to circulate in the corners of the music world. Could he be the UK's next entry for Eurovision? It started as a subtle leak on X, formerly Twitter, where a supposed BBC insider hinted that Calum was in advanced talks to represent the nation at Eurovision 2026. The rumor spread like wildfire, dividing fans and fueling online speculation. On one hand, Calum's soaring vocals, global experience, and emotionally charged stage presence made him a dream candidate. On the other, critics claimed he was too polished, too safe for Eurovision's often chaotic flair. Despite the growing chatter, Calum remained tight-lipped, neither confirming nor denying the possibility in interviews. Meanwhile, hashtags like Calum for Eurovision began trending, and even former contestants publicly backed the idea. For an artist who once hid his voice in an HR office, the idea of commanding a continent-wide stage seemed almost surreal, but perhaps also inevitable. Whether the rumors are true or just fan-fueled fantasy, one thing is clear: Calum Scott has become more than a singer. He's a symbol, and the public isn't done writing his next chapter yet. In early 2025, Calum Scott stunned fans with a cryptic social media post, a blurred image of a cassette tape labeled Avenoir, and a caption that simply read, "Some memories only make sense when you rewind." The announcement marked the beginning of a bold new chapter in his artistic evolution, a concept album rooted in the melancholic idea of remembering the past in reverse. Avanoir, his third studio project, dives deep into themes of nostalgia, regret, and emotional time travel, drawing on everything from his early family trauma to the bitter sweetness of fleeting fame. The first single, God Knows, arrived with a minimalist piano ballad and stark visuals, quickly followed by Die For You, a mid-tempo track that blended orchestral strings with electronic undertones. Both songs received critical praise for their lyrical maturity and sonic experimentation. But it wasn't just the music that signaled Calum's transformation, it was the staging. The Avenoir World Tour, which launched in May 2025, features rotating sets, reverse storytelling sequences, and even audience-submitted childhood photos as visual backdrops. Tickets for the North American leg sold out within hours, and fans worldwide have begun to treat the album not just as music, but as an emotional experience. With Avenoir, Calum Scott isn't chasing charts, he's chasing meaning. Even at the height of his creative renaissance, Calum Scott has faced no shortage of challenges, many of them unfolding far from the spotlight. Midway through his Avenoir World Tour, a critical tour bus breakdown in Berlin forced him to cancel a show for the first time in years, leading to a wave of disappointment and a storm of online backlash. Trolls resurfaced, mocking his soft vocal style and calling him too emotional for mainstream pop, a criticism he's heard since day one. But instead of retreating, Calum responded with quiet strength. In a heartfelt Instagram post, he acknowledged the strain of touring while managing mental health and reaffirmed his commitment to authenticity, not perfection. That same month, he doubled down on his advocacy, launching a partnership with LGBTQ+ youth shelters in 5 major cities and donating proceeds from Avenoir merchandise to mental health nonprofits. He also returned to his roots, visiting schools in Beverly to speak about bullying, identity, and the healing power of music. For Calum, the road has never been easy, but it's clear he's chosen to walk it not just as a performer, but as a voice for the unheard. In a world quick to idolize and quicker to criticize, that steady resilience may be his most powerful performance yet. From the moment he stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent stage with shaking hands and a trembling voice, Calum Scott has defied expectations at every turn. What began as a viral audition transformed into a multifaceted career defined not by fleeting fame, but by grit, reinvention, and an unshakable connection to emotion. Through heartbreak anthems, platinum records, dance floor crossovers, and concept albums, Calum has proven that vulnerability is not a weakness, it's his superpower. Now, with Avanoir rewriting what a pop album can be, and rumors of a Eurovision bid swirling, the man once afraid to sing outside his bedroom may soon become the voice of a nation. But what happens next isn't just his story, it's yours to follow. So if you've ever replayed that audition, if you've ever felt the ache in his lyrics, or if you're just discovering Calum Scott now, there's never been a more powerful time to watch this journey unfold. Hit that like button, subscribe for more untold stories, and tell us in the comments, will Avenoir finally eclipse the audition that started it all, or has the best of Calum Scott yet to come?